I made multiple YouTube videos on how to match in residency in the US with different types of applicants and different specialties. However, one topic I have not discussed yet is the couple match. In this video, I brought two international medical graduates from Brazil who applied together to the match as a couple and match into their dream specialty, anesthesiology. Welcome Maureen and Theodore to the channel.
Yeah, me and Maureen, we're born and raised in Curitiba, it's a city in Brazil. So we did all our medical school in Brazil. And then we actually went through a residency training in Brazil before we started our training here in the US.
Yeah, I did internal medicine actually, and Theodore did general surgery. And during medical school, we never thought about coming to the United States and applying for the stamps. So we didn't do any clerkships and we didn't prepare during medical school. And the idea came during our residency. But we chose to finish our residency in Brazil because we were learning so much and we were committed to our program, and we also needed to save some money for the application. So we finished our residency there. The next day we started studying for step one.
Awesome, that's a great story. So may I ask you what stage of your journey did you meet or get married? Was it in residency before in medical school?
Yeah. We met during medical school. Actually, we started dating during our second year of medical school. In Brazil, it's a 6-year program. So we dated for through the entire medical school, then through residency, and then we got married a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow. So when you decided to come to the US, it's a very big step for any individual person by their own. And it's like too much stress to handle for each person. Were you aware of the challenges that you'll be in the same place? The US is like 50 countries combined. Were you thinking about all these challenges that you might not be in the same place, you might be on different sides of the coast, or you were definitely determined to match together in the same place?
Well, we really wanted to live in the same city or same state, so we would be able to visit each other every other weekend or whenever we had a day off. So we didn't apply for example, California and New York because that wasn't an option for us. So
so that's very stressful when you're couples matching. So that's, I think, the first thing that comes up. It's if it comes to a point where you have to decide, well, now I have an interview in California and she has an interview in New York, we'll re-rank both programs. So that's something that it's kind of stressful, but you just have to work through it. And for us, it was very important to stay close.
Wow, that's amazing. So now I'm going to go a little bit into the details of your journey, and then we'll go about the idea of couples match and how this process works. Okay? So first, can you share each of you? So you did the residency in Brazil. Can you tell me what stage did you decide to come to the US? When did you start preparing your exams? How did you find that process? Briefly, what resources did you use for each exam? And if you want to share the time that it took you, like give the viewers an idea of how this process of coming to the US matured throughout your journey.
All right. So right in the beginning of my residency, I started thinking about going to the United States to have maybe a better training and more research experience. But the residency in Brazil was really hard working, and I wouldn't have enough time to prepare for the steps. So we decided to finish residency first and then dedicate ourselves to the steps. So after finishing residency, the next thing was to set a timeline. And so basically we decided to do everything in a year and a half. The pandemic wasn't that easy, but we were able to prepare for step one during a year, right? And for step one, we basically used UWorld, Anki, flashcards, Sketch Micro, and First Aid, and that was it.
But Pathoma.
Theodore liked using Pathoma. I didn't use it, but
I think the idea of coming here started in like the first year of residency. So that's we had a few lectures in how the residency in the US worked. We knew a few people here that went through the process. So that kind of made us think if that would be an idea for us just to come and train here in the US. But we were in the middle of residency, so we would have to finish before starting anything. It's a lot of work. Residency anywhere in the world, it's a lot of work. So
was there someone who pushed the other towards the pathway to the US, or you were both decided on coming here?
I was the first one. Yeah.
His idea, actually.
I actually thought about doing a medical school in the US, but then I started in Brazil and kind of forgot about the whole process. And then I kind of pushed Marine into it. So
I have to admit that I never thought about living abroad, maybe fellowship or something, but Theodore drew me to this.
Yeah, I always wanted to come here. So.
And did you study at the same time? Did your exam around the same time for all step 1, step 2?
Yeah, everything. We even did, we did our residency in the same hostel in Brazil. So we were together from the start. So, and then we did our step 1 together, which was crazy. Like in the middle of the pandemic, our exam was like
canceled
rescheduled
and
a dozen times, and so we traveled all around Brazil
but
trying to take the exam.
Yeah, all the time together.
It has to be. That's the thing about couples match. It has to be a very well organized.
Wow. Okay. So you did your step 1, your step 2. Did you do any rotations in the US? I know the pandemic was in the peak around that time. Did you have the chance to come to the US before you applied to the match?
Yes, that's a good question. So yes, during this 1.5 years that we were preparing for all the application, we scheduled 3 months of externships here in the United States. And usually people say after you graduate from medical school, you're not able to do any hands-on experience, only observe shifts, but that's not true. And we were able to come here and stay 2 years in the anesthesiology field that we wanted to apply.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months.
What did I say?
2 years.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2 months. Yeah.
And we did 2 months in anesthesiology and 1 month in internal medicine, all 3 months hands-on experience. So, and it really, really helped us, right?
Yeah. So with the pandemic, like you said, it's really difficult to find an externship or even a observership. So we contacted like a bunch of people. Everyone was telling us, the hostel is closed for any medical students or visiting students. So we had to reach out to a few companies that do like externships, and we were able to secure 3 externships. So that's what we did just before applying for residency.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the externship. Did you go back to Brazil and apply and do the interviews, or you stayed in the US during that time?
We finished our last externship in September. We went back to Brazil and we started the interview season back in Brazil. We stayed there until February of this year.
Okay. So that gives us an idea about how this process worked. You did your residency, did your exams, did few externships in the US, and then went back to Brazil and you did the virtual interviews from there. So now let's talk about the couple match idea. Can you explain to our viewers, what does couple match mean? Because I'm sure so many of the viewers here don't know that couple match even exists. And how does this process work? Can you give us a detailed idea of how this process works?
All right.
Sure. Yeah. So couples match, right? So the whole idea about couples match is like the idea behind couples match is kind of if you have like a wife or fiancé or someone that you want to do residency close by. So by couples matching, you'll be able to kind of control where you want to do residency with your significant other. So you go through interviews like every other candidate, like you apply for residency, interviews like every other person in the match. After you do the interviews, that's when couples matching gets kind of different, because you pay an extra fee to the NRMP, and then you're able to rank programs like coordinated with your couple. So let's say you, Monkey, would like to couples match with your brother, let's say. But you can couples match with anyone you want. So you interviewed at like 3 places in New York, and your brother interviewed in the same places in New York, and you guys want to match in New York. So you rank each of the programs together. So you rank program A with program A, program B with program B, and that goes on. And you can do like program A with program C, and you can control which combinations you want to make.
And create many combinations.
Yeah, and the algorithm, the match algorithm, just runs until it matches, right? Until it finds a good match. So that's how it works. It's kind of complicated. NRMP has a lot of videos on it. It's when you see the videos and when you do the process, you kind of understand that. It takes some time to understand, but you shouldn't stress about it. It just, you have to have a sense that at least you'll be able to kind of control the match process in a way.
So you would be picking your interviews as if you were an individual applicant. But then when it comes to the ranking process, you would say, I want to match at place A with my significant other in place A, or me at place A with my significant other. Then you, for example, put B and C and E, and maybe even your significant other not matching. So you would
exactly
combinations. And based on that, after the match starts working, the algorithm starts working, you would be going to your top choice, which is hopefully like the first. If not, you go second, third, and so on. So it's very similar to the process. You're just having more combinations with your significant other.
Yeah,
exactly. For example, we received, we did 13 interviews, but we were able to do over 60 combinations. It was really, really good.
And we could actually do over 100 combinations, but we want to stick like together.
Yeah.
Right? So a few cities were like close from one another, like 50 miles. So we could include that combination. And so, yeah.
So what was the cutoff for the miles wise?
With the cutoff, for me, it was like, for Maureen, it was like a 30-mile drive. That was the limit. For me, it was an hour and a half drive. So, yeah.
So
that was a cutoff.
Your range was a little bit further.
Yeah, I would be driving.
He loves to drive, so that wouldn't be a big problem for him.
It would still be a problem.
Wow.
It's worth it.
That's right.
Okay. So if some people might ask, does the couple match affect my chances of matching? So now just hearing this, that you can put any combination, even with you matching and that person not matching, I would say it doesn't affect your chance of matching, because even if that person doesn't match, you're still having that choice among your choices. But what is your input on that? Now that you went through this process, do you think couple match hurts you, doesn't help you at all, or doesn't hurt you, or helps you?
So one thing that's really important, it's to have similar CVs. So if I have a brilliant CV and my couple, he doesn't, it won't work. The second thing that is really, really important, you will receive interview invitations and the other one. So it's really important for you to reply to the program. Thank you so much for inviting me. And please note I'm applying as a couple. Would you kindly consider reviewing his application and considering extending the invitation for him or her? And for us, it
worked. Yeah.
It worked 100% of the time. So I really, really recommend it. And the third thing that's really important is to take a time to think about your rank order list. As Theodore said, it's a combined rank order list, and it doesn't really have to limit your options. It can actually expand your options if you manage to make multiple combinations, right?
If you're willing to sacrifice a few things. So I think it varies. If you look into the statistics, like, let's say if you get 4 interviews for anesthesiology, you have basically a 50% chance of matching as an IMG. So if you want to match as a couple, let's say your couple had like 4 interviews at the same place. So now your chances of like couples matching, they're half the chance, right? But if you're willing to sacrifice, let's say, if you're willing that like one of the couple matches, let's say person A matches and the person B doesn't match, I mean, it's the same chance, right? Person A has the same chance of matching if person B doesn't match. right? If you put it in the rank or the list. But ultimately, it does decrease your chances of matching, because if you're not able to sacrifice anything, it does decrease the chances, because both have to match. So half the chance, right?
Yeah, you're right. Because worst case scenario, you can put I match and that person doesn't match, which doesn't affect your chance of matching. So, but you realize that when you reach out to the programs that I'm applying couple match, can you extend to my significant other? They were responsive.
Absolutely. So for us, it was actually an advantage to be couples matching. I think like over 5 programs. For example, Maureen received over like 5 interviews in different programs. She reached out to the programs and they reached out to me and offered me an interview just because she was being interviewed. And I think just like maybe one of the programs didn't really respond, but the rest did. So that's
amazing. That's programs to appreciate that you want to stay together and you're applying together. So to appreciate that, that's really good.
Yeah, actually, some of the programs really value couples match because they know that we will know someone in the city or in the hostel will be happier, will be hardworking. So they really value that.
Correct.
Yeah. And of course, there are the programs that they just don't want a couple. So you have to accept that. And we were very open about being a couple in a match. And most of the programs were really receptive about it. So.
Glad to hear. So now that you apply to anesthesiology with it, which is becoming more and more competitive, given its good lifestyle, good work-life balance, what is your advice for someone applying as single or couple match for this specialty?
So I think it's really important to have competitive scores, but also US experience in anesthesiology, both in the OR or if you like, pain management with outpatients as well. And to have US letters from anesthesiologists, I believe it makes a big difference. And also to have US experience in the field of anesthesiology. Because one thing is for you to thrive in your own country, but they really want to know if you will thrive in the OR here in the United States. So I believe that's really important.
Yeah, totally. The letters of recommendation, like anesthesiologists, they want a very well-rounded candidate, someone that is good medically, but is also a very good person to work with, because it's a very teamwork-based thing. When you have to work with the surgeon, you have to work with all the employees inside the OR, and you also have to work with your own anesthesiology colleagues. They form these big groups, and so they want someone that fits in. So you have to have a good background, like interests out of medicine, and you have to expose that. Be very honest about what you like out of medicine. They just want to know that you're a good person that can work and can interact with other people. That's basically it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So it's the combination of you having connections to someone in the field, getting letters from them. They testify about you and the other things of the CV, which is the scores and personal statement, good interview skills, and the research if someone has that.
Yeah, of course. And the scores get you in the interview, but when you're in the interview, it doesn't really matter what your scores are. You just have to know how to communicate. Obviously, if you have some research, it helps, because they know you have it. You're a hardworking person that went after like expanding your research experience. But also, if you don't have a really big research experience, that also won't make a super difference on the whole application.
I think the main value of research in the US, especially when applying to competitive specialties, is the connections that you build, and these people testifying for you that you're really good, you're hardworking. In addition to the publications, of course, having publications and having research experience is good, but having people in the US make sure that you're a normal person, nice to work with, you don't cause problems. That is a very other important factor of doing research.
Yeah, totally.
Any final advice for those listening to us today who are thinking of applying together as a couple to anesthesiology or any other specialty? What would you say to them?
Well, I believe that I would say that it's never too late. For example, we did our residencies, we finished our training in Brazil, and then we started thinking about step one and externships and everything else. So it's never too late to start.
Yeah, and like if you go straight to the statistics, it's very frightening just to start the match as a couple. But you know, it's when you're in the process, when you're speaking to your interviewer, you'll see that there's a lot of variables inside the process. So don't believe someone that says like your chances of matching as a couple like are very small, because that varies a lot. For us, it wasn't. It didn't really make a difference. I think it even helped us being a couple. Our story was, I think, more interesting to the people that were interviewing us, and that kind of helped. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen and Theodore, for this insightful discussion about the couple match. For our viewers, if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below, or feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter at Malki Assad, my Facebook page Malki Assad MD, or our website thematchguy.com. If you found any value in this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell sign so you get notified whenever I post future videos on my YouTube channel. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and see you in future videos. Peace.